All right. Okay, so let's check, make sure the stream looks correct. The day is Thursday. Is it Thursday? Yes. The integer ID of this video is 193. Okay, that's correct. We're working on the, what symbol are we working on here? We're working on the Scorpio symbol, and that is what the title that I'm broadcasting is, and that's also what this text on my stream says as well. Okay, so that's all good. So I just want to make sure that's correct before we get into it. So let's overview what we've done so far, right? So here's the Aries, here's the Cancer, Gemini, Leo, what was this one? Libra. This is the Bull, so that's Taurus, and this ME thing is Virgo, and so we're thinking that because Scorpio has a very similar symbol to the Virgo in terms of this like M-looking thing, that we take the Virgo code and we just cut and paste it into the Scorpio code, and then we'll just hack it up to pieces until we get the Scorpio symbol, right? So we might also want to look at some other Scorpio symbols to make sure that whatever we make is the most iconic or correct. So it looks like really all we gotta do is make sure it's an M and put an arrow on it, and then it's done, right? That's kind of what it looks like to me, right? Little M with the arrow, right? M with the little hooky arrow, right? M thing, right? So M's, it's like a little McDonald's, it's like a McDonald's drive-through sign. It has an M and then an arrow, right? This looks kind of interesting. But I like how this kind of hooks up, but let's not, most of these arrows are to the right, right? Some of these go up, this goes down, but it looks like to the right is the way this is supposed to be. Now, there's probably a lot of artistic leeway you could take with this, but it looks like this one goes all the way up, right? I do like this kind of, the geometrical nature of this actually looks kind of nice. I do like this, so I'm going to open this in a new tab, and I'm gonna look at that for reference as I'm working on this, because I think that maybe I want to do it that way. But I think most of them are okay. Some of these are up to the. Should the arrow point to the left or should it point up? Like, what is the proper way to do it? Like, Scorpio symbol arrow direction. Is there an answer to that? Like, what's the correct way, right? Is it supposed to be a 45, right? This looks like a 45. What is proper? And I have no clue what's proper. Which direction is good for Scorpio? All the fire signs, blah, blah, are east direction. Earth signs. South directions, air signs, and water signs are north. Okay, well, if it says a water sign is north, right, then should this not, if we're doing a map, right, north is up. So I'm thinking that it should be pointing up, right? I think it should be pointing up, but then look at this. This looks like is this Unicode for Scorpio? What is this? Scorpio astrology, right? So let's look at this thing. So we're thinking up for north, right? And that's why we're thinking of this arrow. Well, this is Wikipedia, right? So this is what Wikipedia thinks. So this arrow. So it's also like a unit, huh? Abbreviated min. So this Scorpio symbol can be used as a unit. Interesting. So I'm thinking it doesn't matter too much. I think what it's going to come down to is it's going to come down to whatever I can fit into the workspace that I have, right? So let's just get this working, right? So we'll go into the cutting sheet section, or actually let's go open up So first, let's go open up this thing, right? And let's go cut paste this, right? And this is going to be Scorpio, right? So we're going to change this Libra thing to Scorpio. Scorpio Code. Scorpio Code. And then we're going to put it over here, right? Just cut, paste, hackish kind of refactoring, right? But the idea here is that we just keep it dead simple. Keep it dead simple and lacking in abstraction, so that's just easy to follow, easy to connect the dots. So Scorpio, Scorpio, and this thing right here, we'll use three-letter abbreviation. We'll just use the first three letters of the astrological sign to create these shorthand function wrappers. And that's all we need to do, right? So now that we have that, what we're going to do is we're going to, we can close this now, and we can also, let's close this mathematical contemplation here. And let's open up one of these. Let's steal this code from here, file, new. And instead of it being this, it's going to be the Scorpio thing. And the name of the file is going to be the name of the function called, is going to be the name of the SVG. They're going to have a one-to-one relationship there, so we can easily follow the code, right? So that's not supposed to be SVG because I'm talking at the same time I'm doing this. So that needs to be SCAD, right? And then let's go open up another one, and this is going to be O2, right? So we're going to take this, copy, save, and it's going to be this.scad. Okay, so now we got these ready for when we're about to use them for rendering. We actually have to write the code now, right? So we got to go down here, and what I'm thinking is well, first of all, let's create the section, right? So Scorpio Code, right? So this is the Scorpio Code section. All of the code for drawing that Scorpio symbol is going to go in here, right? Also, I didn't eat any food yet. And I didn't eat any food yet because I've noticed, well, first of all, I need to lose weight. Second of all, I find that my focus, once I eat food, it's like code writing time is done. Like, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, that historically, that's what I've noticed. Like, after I eat food, I don't end up working anymore. And the weird thing is, you feel better. You feel like better, and you might feel like you have more energy, and you feel better, and you feel satisfied. But I think that striving and doing work doesn't actually come from being satisfied. Now, you could say that, well, what do you mean? Or don't you want to be happy and enjoy what you're doing? Well, yes, I do. I want to enjoy what I'm doing, but in terms of, like, getting stuff done, being 100% happy and content is not a recipe to get stuff done. So, whatever reason, that slight hunger I feel as I'm working, as long as it's not too distracting, is actually good for my focus. I don't know why. So intermittent fasting is also pretty good for you, right? Okay, so we'll do this, and then the debug, let's turn this debug back on so we can see the wheel, right? And then in here, we're not ready yet. We're going to actually call this function right now as we work on it so that we can see the results, right? And so this won't do anything yet, but it's all stubbed in. It's ready to go. It's ready for us to start editing. So we're going to open up the SCAD file, the main SCAD file responsible for this. And we're going to just, here's the wheel, and we want the astrological symbol to go within that wheel, right? So within here, we need to just say, steal the code for the other astrological symbol that looks similar, which is the Virgo, right? So we're going to go find the Virgo code. So we got Libra. Here's the Virgo code, right? So we have this kind of uncentered. This is the uncentered version. We're not going to worry about that. We're actually going to take, we could actually call this, since this is the uncentered code, maybe we want to just, let's copy this. And, oh, well, what we could do is we could just take the astrological symbol and we could just rather than copy paste, we could just modify it. We could just delete portions of it and then do that, right? Like, well, let's look at this. So let's go look at Virgo for a second. Let's go look at Virgo and see what if we just took it and pasted it in and tried to like cut stuff out. No, because this crossbar would be just annoying. So let's not do that. Let's just get rid of this whole bar, and then we have the M, and then we just put a little arrow on it, and then we're kind of done, right? Okay, so what we could do though is we could make a helper function, right? Right, we have some common code rather than just cutting and pasting all this common code, right? Let's check ourselves before we wreck ourselves here. I'm thinking this uncentered. We're gonna say render candy cane, because that's what I'm calling it, and render candy cane, and then render candy cane here equals 1, right? So it's true, right? And so we're going to reuse this thing, but we're going to use this code so that we can, let's just throw this in here for a second. So ZOTCOM SVC, or ZOT SVC configuration thing. Let's just render this astrological symbol really quick. And let's alter this. Let's alter the code so that if we turn this to 0, we no longer see this candy cane. So triple M, brass knuckle legs, bad figure 8. So it's somewhere in this bad figure 8 thingy that we have this candy cane. So fuse on the candy cane. It's been moved. And if we look down here, okay, here is the candy cane stuff. And so all we're going to do is go, you know, if greater than or equal to 1, right? Just put a guard around this candy cane section. And if we do that and go F4 for a second, nothing happened because it's currently set to 1, right? So if we go up here to where we're using this, just set this to 0 as a quick little test, right? To make sure this works. F4. F4? No? Yes? Close, but there's still more nonsense that needs to be removed, right? So this part needs to be removed. So we're closer, though. We're closer, though. So let's figure out where this other ring is, right? So this ring would be like a wheel, right? So that's what we call that shape. And so here's the wheels. So we have 1, 2, 3 wheels. So you'll notice that if we look at this, there's probably 1, 2, 3. Those are these 3 wheels. So the 4th wheel is probably down somewhere else, right? But that's not the wheel we're looking for. So somewhere in here there's another wheel. So it's either this one or that one. We don't know. Well, this is where we're taking the pie slice, right? So if we take the pie slice, if we comment this out for a second, right? Comment it out, and look at this again. F4. Ooh boy. So do we have to comment this out as well? F4. Okay, yeah. So all we got to do is, you know, well, actually, we can just comment all this out, right? So all this kind of stuff here, right, we just need to remove, right? So this section in here, we're just going to say, you know, if greater than or equal to 1, right? So if we're rendering this candy cane kind of thingy-mabobber, then we'll do it. Otherwise, we won't, right? So there we go. So now we have this kind of thing, right? And now let's go back up to the top, right? And let's put the render candy cane. Well, we want that in there, right? So let's put that over there, F4, right? And then bam, it's right where it needs to be. That's the original symbol, right? So now what we can do is we can take what we already have, right? And we can work with that, right? So what we could do is we could take so this Virgo uncentered, right? To create the uncentered version of the other symbol, so let's get rid of this for a second. To create the uncentered code for this, right? If we want to keep the same structure, right? So ZOTCOM Virgo uncentered, right? All we'll do is we'll go in here and we'll say module, right? And we'll say ZOTCOM Scorpio uncentered, right? SBC. And we'll just paste this, right? It'll just call back to The render candy cane is going to be set to 0 here, and we'll just call this uncentered code. So it's going to be a little wrapper, right? So that can we reuse that code, right? And then as far as this uncentered code, right, we wrap it to kind of move it correctly. So to correctly center this, to correctly center this, we can just steal this, and we can just put this in here, right? And this Scorpio uncentered, right? We can put this here like this, get rid of that. Right, and there we go, we got this here. So now the next thing I want to do is say, you know, Scorpio uses some of Virgo variables. So I might want to make a note of this, right? Just throw this in here, kind of highlight it like this. This might be an obnoxious way to do it, but it is kind of inconsistent way that we're writing this code. So we might want to highlight this case here so that we don't accidentally screw ourselves over later. Okay, so we got this kind of thing in place, and so what we want to do now is we want to just work on the uncentered version, right? The uncentered version is the one that I am concerned with, that I want to look at, like get rid of that arbitrary transformation, right? Because this is going to be easier to comprehend where things are, right? So to get down here, right, to get way down there, like how are we going to do that? Now we did things in kind of even increments, but oh boy, how are we going to find this? Well, we could do is we could just make another variable. We could hackishly kind of do this by just making another variable on the Virgo symbol to say, oh, put an arrow on it, stick an arrow on it, right? Because if we stick an arrow on it, then we have the symbol we want, right? And we don't have to worry about the transformations to get over here, right? We can just stick an arrow in the original code. That would be the easiest thing to do, and I think I'm going to go with the easiest thing because it's, yeah. So what we're going to do here is this Scorpio uncentered thing, right? Render candy cane, stick an arrow on it. Right, if we stick an arrow on it, then it changes what symbol it is, right? So it's kind of weird, but one symbol is based on another, right? That's the idea behind this. So let's just say stick an arrow on it, right? And then let's go F4 for a second, F4, okay? And then let's go find this uncentered code here. And let's just change, let's organize this signature a bit, right? So we're getting a lot of parameters now. So stick an arrow on it. So we'll call it stick an arrow on it. And if we set that variable, so also where we're doing this, stick an arrow on it equals 0, right? So right, as so the original symbol, the Virgo, has that candy cane, but it doesn't have an arrow, and then for the Scorpio, it has the arrow, but it doesn't have the candy cane, right? So let's just throw that in there, and not worry too much about what this looks like, right? Stick an arrow on it, right there. So let's just make sure we haven't introduced any stupid syntax errors, because we make those mistakes a lot. Okay, excellent. So now we have this. And we're thinking that somewhere in here, we want to look for where that arrow is going to go. So we have this little hook right here, right? So at some point, we have to figure out, well, where the heck is that hook coming from? It's definitely like a circle, right? It's a circle or a wheel, right? So a wheel. It's not one of these, because those are these 3 wheel patterns up here. And it's not this wheel either, because that wheel is coming from the candy cane shape, right? So if render candy cane. So we know it's not that. So it's likely this, right? So if we comment this out, we should be able to see that wheel pattern just disappear. So F4 for a second, and yeah, we can see it disappear, and then other bad, horrible things happen. So right here is where that hook is being added, right? So this wheel is in the correct position. It's in the correct position to where we need it. So we need to figure out all the transformations responsible for getting into this location, right? So it looks like we're transforming on the Y here. And then we also have another Y transformation here as well. So we need to get to that center point. So the top level Y transformations we're looking at here are this Y transformation and then this Y transformation, right? So if we want, so first of all, we're going to say, you know, so let's make a stick an arrow on it section, right? And then if greater than or equal to 1, right? And we're just gonna make the section, and then we're going to first make sure that we can correctly position a point in this area right here, right? We're gonna make sure that our math is correct for that. So for that, we're just gonna say, right? So the wheel that we want is this. So we're gonna take this transformation here, right? And we're going to put it there, right? And then we also need another Y transformation, right? So this Y transformation is inside another set of transformations. And we're going to take that, we're going to put that at the top as well, right? So we're just going to group all the transformations that were used to get to where we are. Okay. And then once we have that, we can start coding. Or we're hoping that we can just do like this V-carve inch wheel, right, SBC, and we're hoping that we can just go 0.1, right, and 0 for the thickness, and then, or actually 0.1 for the thickness, something like that, and just throw that in there and see if it's in the correct location, right? So I'm not seeing anything very positive here. So let's do like thickness. Right, let's just put that there, F4. Well, first of all, the problem might be that, are we using this yet? Stick an arrow on it. Wait, hold on. What's that? Is this somehow in a subtractive area? Yes. It's inside of a difference. So within the bad figure 8 section, it's inside of a difference. So let's take that out of there. Okay, let's put that right there. Let's put that right in here. And then reevaluate what we're doing here. Okay, so F4 now. So it's no longer in that subtractive area. We know that it's somewhere over here for some reason. Oh, because we did the Y transformation, but the X transformation here we don't have, right? So in fact, there's a lot of transformations we seem to be missing, right? We have like a IY, SBC. Oh, that's not the one we want to look at. This IY. And this IY. This IY, that OY, and then this IX. So this X transformation needs to be there as well. So let's throw that in here as well. And then maybe that'll be in the correct location. We just forgot the X transformation, right? Okay, so that is where I want it, right? That's in the correct spot. It's in the center of the circle. And so now what we want to do is, first of all, we want to make it a little bit smaller. So 0.1 and 0.1 maybe, right? F4. Something where we can kind of see where it is. And we're going to move it over by, we're going to center it on here, right? So we're going to say, you know what, IX SBC 0 plus the, we should just move it over by the not the thickness, by the radius, right? So by the radius of the circles that we're using. And if we do that, F4, right? Now it's exactly where we want it. So now instead of making this a circle, we just need to make it some type of arrow shape, right? And then we're good. Now, unless we want to, I think that we want to make it a little bit longer though. I think we want to like move it up by, say, I think we want to create a line from here and move it up by the radius, right? Because so we're right in the middle, right? So we want to move by an entire diameter, just because we'd like more of a hook on it, right? So what I'm thinking is this is where it needs to be. So, you know, inch line SBC, and that's going to take let's do P1 and P2, P1, P2. And it needs a thickness, and I think the thickness actually comes first, because I don't know why I did it that way, but that's the way it is, so we're stuck with it. So this is the bad thing about making up parameters as on the fly, because then you get these parameter lists where the orders are inconsistent, but oh well. So for this, we're going to just say P1 equals is just at the origin, right? And then, but P2, and this is in terms of inches, is just going to be like, on the X we're not going to move, but then we're going to go 0 plus the radius, right? Something like that. And we're going to just give that a shot and see how that looks, right? So F4. So if we do that, not bad, right? So the idea is that if we go right here, right? So this, I want this line to kind of match up with that, with this line here. Put the arrow right on there, right? So the next thing I want to do is I want to turn off the roundedness, right? So I'm going to make that a 0 really quick, right? So you see how this kind of lines up, and so now the arrow is just going to go right here. So we're going to make the arrow, so the thickness times 2, right? So that half of it goes to this midpoint here, and then half of it goes over here, right? So the thickness, thickness times 2, well, technically I want it would be the radius minus half the thickness on each side, right? So the arrow radius equals the radius, right? The radius minus the thickness on one side, because here's the radius and the thickness goes in both directions. So minus the thickness divided by 2, arrow radius. And what I mean by arrow radius is it's like, if we want to make the arrow, we want to go halfway this way, go halfway this way, right? So let's make sure that that's... now, the other formula for just saying, oh, we could just go the thickness times... we can just traverse the thickness here, and we can traverse the thickness here. That would also get the same exact result, but it wouldn't be parametrically correct. So, because I want the tip of the arrow, the side tip of the arrow, I always want it to be aligned with the midpoint of the circle, right? I want everything to line up very nicely, because that just makes for a good design. So with that, we just want to create another polygon, right? So we have this thing here, and we need to just create a polygon. So polygon, all right, and then points equals, and then within this list of polygons, we have to make sure that this is going to be a native coordinates, right? So if you go up here, we have this thing called impNat. We're going to have to multiply every single calculation we come up with is going to have to rely on that conversion factor, right? So first of all, let's remove some of this because I'm getting kind of confused. Actually, no, we'll keep this here. Let's remove this. This is what I'm focusing on, so let's just color code that so we don't lose our place again. And for the points, we can start off at, 0, 0, make it easy. And then the next point that we want to do is going to be is going to be, we use some trigonometry, right? So well, we don't need any trigonometry. We can just go 0, and then 0, we can go 0 plus, and then the radius, right? We can go 0 plus the radius, but then we can multiply it by that scale factor to make it into native units, right? So that's on the x. Now on the y, it's just 0, right? So it's just 0 times imp nat. It doesn't really need that conversion factor there, but that will make it kind of better, I think. So let's steal this code for a second, and let's paste this here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 points that we need, right? So here is the center. That's the first line. 1, 2. But this is the other side that we're going to do, right? This is going to be the other side. And then we need the tip, right? So let's copy this and paste it into the middle. And then this tip is just going to be, I don't know what it needs to be, but this is going to be 0, and it's going to move up on the y by some amount. I don't know what that amount should be, but we could just give it this for now, right? So central tip. Right, this is the tip. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So here, 1, 2, 3, here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we only need 4 points, I think. So that should be good. Let's give that a shot. And we may have made some syntax errors or something. We'll find out. The polygon point says screw you, I guess. The radius minus the thickness divided by 2. So the radius is here. Minus the thickness divided by 2. That should still give us something. But hold on. If we want to make it go from here to here, we just need the radius, right? If we're starting from here and want to get to the center point, we just want to use the radius. So we got way too complicated here. It's just the radius. The arrow radius is just the radius. My bad. F4. Okay, so now we're almost better, but we notice that this line is not up where it needs to be, right? Why is that? I don't know yet. So this is the line, right? And has a P1 and a P2. Oh, so P2, we have to offset everything by P2, right? So it's P2. So everything right here has an origin of P2, right? So it's P2. P2's Y location, specifically. But let's be more proper about it, right? So let's do P2 plus. Right, so P2, X, and Y. Right, so let's just steal this. So it needs to be in relationship to point 2, right? So let's throw that in there. And we still have to do this 0, 0, but let's make sure that looks kind of better now. And then this needs to be corrected as well, right? So this thing that was 0, 0, we actually have to do this thing. So let's steal this. Let's steal this and just throw it in here for a second. And then we'll worry about what it actually needs to be. Just throw that in there, right? Throw that in there. And then just 0, 0, right? In relationship to that point 2, there's no offset at all, right? So F4. And we screwed something up. It's that. Okay, cool. F4. Let's try it again. So now, yeah, we got the little AirWe thing, right? So we're good. So 34 minutes, and we're almost done here. So the next thing we want to do is all this code that we just added is in a if stick an arrow on it section. Okay, good. So now let's look at what that looks like centered, right? Properly centered. So here's the Scorpio, here's the uncentered code. And I gotta ask myself, why is this not... Oh, it's not centered because we're calling this directly. We want to call this wrapper that's going to center it probably. So F4, and see if that looks alright. That looks alright. It's a little bit close, but it'll do. It's fine. So now the thing I'm worried about is, let's make sure we haven't destroyed the Virgo, right? with all our meddling around, did we destroy the Virgo symbol, or is it still intact? Nope, the Virgo symbol is still intact, so there's Virgo, there's Scorpio, right? And so we saved ourselves a lot of work because the symbols were so close to each other in terms of their stylization. So now what we're going to do, now that we know that that's all working, is we're going to delete that code that we're using for testing, and we're going to go up into the debug section, and we're going to turn the debug off, right? So we're going to get rid of the wheel pattern. We're going to close this file, and we're going to go into the code for this, so in the cutting files, and we're on, that was Scorpio, right? So Scorpio, we're just going to open up these files that we already stubbed in and got ready, and we're going to render them. So file, export as SVG, and in here we're just going to call it Scorpio.svg. Okay, save. So now we're going to close this one, and we're going to open this up, right? So, oh, spam. So we're going to render it, and we got to zoom extents to actually see it. So this is just the pegs on the bottom of the table to align it, and we're going to export that as SVG, and or it's just .svg, right? Okay, so close that. And the last thing we want to do is for this Scorpio, let's refresh the file system here. And we want to look at Scorpio 01, all right? That's going to be the actual rendition of the symbol. And we're just going to clip this to our clipboard so that we have something to put in our little gallery of astrological symbols. Okay, file, save as, and right here is the root. So we'll just save this as Scorpio.png. Okay, and close this, and then go over here and let's look at currently what we've done so far. Okay, Aries. That's a crab. That is for Cancer. This is Gemini. This is a lion with a tail, so that is Leo. What is this ring thingy? Libra. This is what we just worked on, Scorpio. This is a bull, so that's Taurus. This me thing is Virgo. And yeah, so we got a lot of things done, so that's cool. So this is the one we just did, right? So it looks a lot like Virgo and Scorpio look quite alike. But yeah, we're good. So I chose the up arrow just because a side arrow just would be harder to fit within the design of the circle I made, right? That's one reason I chose up arrow. Coincidentally, I also like the up arrow because it's saying that, this is a water sign, and water signs point north. I don't get that, but, you know, if we have more non-arbitrary justifications for why things are a certain way, that's awesome. Okay, so now that we've done that, it's time to end this stream and start up a new one and get this Sagittarius thing working, right? But before we do that, there's one other piece of code that we need to put into here, right? So we have all these sections, right? Virgo symbol constants, Libra symbol constants. We need to make a section called Scorpio symbol consts, right? And then nothing here because we use the Virgo constants. So just say, nothing here, reused Virgo constants. Right, so there's nothing in here because the two symbols are so similar that we just didn't do it, right? So we might want to make a note for the code that we're doing here, right? So at vid IID 0193, and the time, what is the time right now? So the time is 39 minutes, and just 39 minutes, right? So right here, there's nothing in this Scorpio symbol section because we just reused the Virgo constants, and the reason for that, if we want to go back into the gallery, is because the Virgo and the Scorpio just look so similar that we just reused the Virgo code, right? So here's the Virgo, and here's the Scorpio, Virgo, Scorpio. So we reused a lot of the Virgo code to create this, and a consequence of that is that this source file does not have any Scorpio constants, right? So we have Libra constants, we have Virgo constants, we have Leo constants, Cancer constants, etc. But we have a little pattern breaker here because of how we reuse that code. But it was the simplest, easiest way to do it, and so I'm happy. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can stop this stream and move on to the next stream. So this was video 193. The day is Thursday. It's 10:03 p.m. I'll be right back, because I'm going to try to get this all done. So stop streaming.